What's up? What's happening? Welcome in. It's the Hoffman Show on a Wednesday, NBA Draft Day. And if you're watching us on YouTube, you see we are live at the Wharf. That's the Washington Monument over that shoulder. That's the Jefferson Monument or Memorial right there. As we are live at the Wharf, where Wizards Draft HQ is. All your favorite media members will be here, just a couple floors up from the actual Wizards Draft War Room. So somewhere downstairs, Michael Winger, Will Dawkins, Travis Schlenk, and the Wizards front office is getting ready to either make the 6th overall pick or make a trade so that they're not making the 6th overall pick tonight in the 2025 NBA Draft. Officially, our draft coverage starts now. This is your Wizards Draft Show, and it will extend when our show, usual time, ends at 7 o'clock. It will keep going with Linnell Willingham. Undoubtedly, Linnell will stop by and be sitting here at some point during the show. Also, with us on set here today, Josh Robbins of The Athletic, in just half an hour to talk about kind of a bigger picture team building exercise in the NBA. Josh covered the Orlando Magic for a long time, so he always keeps a close eye on what they're doing. And they obviously have been one of the teams of the offseason so far with the Desmond Bane trade. He's obviously covering this team, which is mid-rebuild. And we all just watched the Pacers and the Thunder, two teams that were built similarly, make the NBA Finals. So in a changing NBA landscape under this new CBA agreement, what are the Wizards doing and how does it fit into that? We talked to Josh a little bit about that last week, but some of these bigger trends what can we learn from, I think are interesting things to draw from, and we'll talk to Josh Robbins. We're going to talk to Josh Robbins about that at 4:30. So, with that said, Anthony back in our DC studio as always with us, and how are you? Like, how are you feeling going into tonight, going into this NBA draft? Like, I'm excited to see what happens, but I do feel like talking to folks around the organization and talking to fans and just talking to Wizards adjacent people, NBA adjacent people, the last couple of days about this draft. There's a big, I don't know. We'll see, and that's kind of where I'm at as we are a couple hours from draft time.
I'm excited for the draft for sure. I really just, think back to the last time we had the 6th and 18th pick in a draft, and that was 2011, where we infamously took Jan Vesely at 6 and then Chris Singleton at 18, and they didn't pan out so well. So
No.
I think the fact that we have, Will, Michael, and Travis, here leading this draft, I think I have a little bit more faith and more confidence that they'll get it right because, again, like I think the first 2 years they've done an incredible job. So I'm optimistic that, they'll make the right decision. There's been a lot of players linked to, the Wizards, and I think they'll do what best, fits what we currently have right now.
Yeah, and kind of what the best thing is moving forward. The what they are right now piece is interesting because what they are right now is a collection of parts that needs a center to revolve around. Not a center as in the power forward versus center, a center as in a central hub. And I don't know that they're going to get that in this draft. And the hope was that they would get better lottery luck and that Cooper Flagg or Dylan Harper, the top 2 picks in this draft tonight, barring something very surprising happening, that those 2 guys are capable of that. I think the question is there someone else who's capable of that? And if so, who is it, obviously? And that's where I think the guy who's the most intriguing, prospect in this draft is kind of the key to the whole thing. And it's a guy who was considered with those other 2 for a long time, and that's Ace Bailey. Ace Bailey is if you are just tuning in today, having not checked out any NBA draft coverage, you're like, oh, it's draft day. Let's see what Hoffman has to say. He'll get me ready. We are here to serve. We are here for you. But Ace Bailey is 6'7" forward, 6'7 and a half, 6'7 and a quarter, I think was the official combine measurement, forward out of Rutgers. And going into last year, I think many saw him as the second best player in this draft behind Cooper Flagg. He quickly, I think, fell behind in the eyes of many his teammate at Rutgers, Dylan Harper. And if you were a college basketball fan and you're like, wait, I didn't hear anything about Rutgers all year. Did I miss that? Were they good? No, they were not. Rutgers did not make the NCAA tournament with 2 of the potential top 3 picks in the NBA draft tonight. And a lot of folks look at Ace Bailey more so as the reason why than Dylan Harper. Bailey still, for as quote-unquote bad as he was, and I don't even know that he was bad. He certainly wasn't bad statistically. He averaged almost 18 points and 8 rebounds a game as a freshman. Like, that's a hella good season. They didn't have a lot of talent around them. The fit was a little funky at times. But, Dylan Harper has talked about how Ace Bailey is this, like, happy-go-lucky guy. His energy in the locker room is amazing. And if you watch him, there is an incredible shot-making ability that he has, which is the hardest thing in the sport to have. And, that makes you think, like, well, shoot, if he's got the highest upside and he could truly be a star that scores 25 a game, like, should probably take that guy. The problem is he was a super tough shot maker. Typically, when guys are tough shot makers in college, it doesn't really work out in the pros because you go from being able to take and make tough shots to being able to not take shots because the defense is far better. And he doesn't, like, the feel for the game from, like, a passing standpoint isn't there. There's real questions about his defense. And to say, like, I want to be clear about that. There are questions about his defense, not he is a bad defender, because he showed real defensive upside at times, and his length and his lateral quickness, and, like, his stance is pretty good. So, like, there's a lot to like there potentially. And if you tell me you get a guy who's a good shot maker, typically rebounding translates at a higher level, so, like, a solid rebounder and a good defender, like, that's not necessarily a star, but that's a higher floor than I feel like some people talk about Ace Bailey getting credit for. In a lot of mock drafts, he has fallen to the Wizards at 6, and that has been the pick. Anthony, do you have actually, let me run this by you, because I was watching some more stuff of him earlier today. I've read so much stuff, and I was like, I've watched him before. Like, let me stop reading other people and put my own eyes on him again. I feel like there's some Carmelo-y type of vibes with his game, and some of it is the specifics of how he creates shots, the spots that he shoots from. And that's an interesting player in the 2025 NBA, like a very interesting player. Obviously, Carmelo impacted winning at Syracuse as much as you possibly can, the one and only national title that Jim Boeheim ever won. But there are, like, the quick feet, the ability to get on balance, the quick release. But I think the thing that separates a guy like Carmelo or some of the best scorers in the league from a guy like Ace currently is the handle's not nearly as tight. Everything is long. It takes a while for him to get to the spot, to get the thing. Like, once he gets there, it's super quick up and into the motion, and he makes it a lot. But the handle is the thing that's going to prevent him from being the elite scorer. But I'm like, well, shoot, you can improve your handle. Like, that's the tantalizing to me. Like, Ace Bailey this is not a opinion that only I have. This is not rare in any way. Ace Bailey is the most intriguing guy in this draft because the ceiling's really high. The floor is also potentially really low. And I just don't know what to do with that information, especially for a team like the Wizards, who has typically been like, let's get on base so that when we hit a home run, it's worth a lot. But do they have enough base runners on, and are they in a position to take swing for the fences here, or do they just try to say, hey, let's get another guy on and let's look ahead to this 2026 draft next year, which is even more loaded than this one?
It's funny you mentioned, his handle being a little loose and a little wide. I think if you're 6'10", as he was,
listed as
being when he was in college, and now that he's 6'7", it's like, if you're 6'7" and your handle's like that, it's unacceptable. If you're 6'10", I think you get a pass for it just because you know how tall you are. But I think the height differential, or us finding out how tall he is truly, I think that sort of kind of affected him and his draft stock. I think if he was still 6'10", I don't think a lot of people would have a lot of problems with his game. But yes, his inability to have a tight dribble is concerning if you are 6'7", because again, like, that's shooting guard size. Like, you're like, he's listed as a forward, but in my eyes, I view him more as a guard now, just because he's 6'7". He doesn't really play from the post. He can, and I think that's what you talk about when you compare his game to Carmelo Anthony. Like, he can get to his spots, but it's just not the same manner in which Melo did.
No, for sure. And Carmelo was a bigger body type. Ace is still real slim. But, like, what happens when he puts on weight? Like, these are the questions. Some of the other names to consider, Jeremiah Fears, Trey Johnson, Con Knipple is going to be in the mix. VJ Edgecombe, if he were to fall that far, I do not think he's getting past Philadelphia in 3 at this point. Most of the mock drafters have kind of come to consensus on that. But we'll see. There's a couple other names to mention as well. We'll run through Fears and Johnson because they feel like the 3, along with Bailey, most likely guys next. Plus, we'll take some calls. 301-230-0980. 301-230-0980. Your calls. Who do you want to see the Wizards draft? Plus, Josh Robbins, Kevin Pelton, Shakira Austin on the show today. We're locked and loaded on NBA Draft Day live from Wizards HQ on the Hoffman Show. the Hoffman Show from the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app and streaming live on YouTube too at the Team 980, where you see we are at the Wharf Wizards Draft HQ. I think Chase Hughes is also going to join us a little bit later on in the show. So Chase, Josh Robbins in about 10 minutes. We got Shakira Austin at 5:30, the Mystic Star, who's the Eastern Conference Player of the Week in the WNBA. Right now, though, taking your calls at 301-230-0980, 301-230-0980 on the player that you would like to see the Wizards take in tonight's NBA draft. I will say real quick, just on a technical side, we seem to have a little bit of a delay over the air in terms of what's coming back to studio. So I will ask you who you want to take on the phones. You will tell me, and then Anthony is going to hang up the phone on you, and I will respond, and then we'll get to the next person because the delay will be funky and a back and forth. So if it sounds like I'm rude to anyone, it is not on purpose. That is a tech issue. We are aware of it, and there's not anything we can do about it. So with that, Cato, who would you like to see the Wizards take tonight in the 2025 NBA draft?
The 6'10", outstanding man out of Maryland University, Derek Queen.
Interesting. I do think that we are going to have a lot of Derek Queen calls. And Anthony, I'm getting an echo. If we could ixnay on the phone there, thank you. If we on Derek Queen, I'll put it this way. I can make the argument for Derek Queen. The argument for Derek Queen is this: he is 6'10". He's very, very skilled for a big. He can shoot it well enough that I think he will develop a three-point shot in the NBA. Now, that three-point shot in the NBA might be Miles Turner, where it's really good sometimes and it's really gone others. Turner was just abnormally bad in the NBA Finals. He's also had seasons where he's been an excellent three-point shooter and has hit a bunch of big shots in his career. But when you look at Queen as a defender, when you look at Queen as something more than just like a kind of an offensive guy that can become a hub, I don't know how much versatility he has. And that to me is the question, is like, is Derek Queen, and these types of players I think are the hardest player in the league. And in many ways, they just traded one away in Jordan Poole. If you give Jordan Poole the keys to an offense, he'll score 20 to 25 a game. He'll hit a bunch of shots, and that's probably the best production you're going to get from him versus trying to shove him into square peg, round hole, off-ball player, whatever. But is he good enough to be a hub on a winning team? That I don't know. And I think typically what winds up the best usage for those players is either they evolve to round out their skill sets. Miles Turner is a great example of this, where he became such a good shot blocker and a good defender, and he was become a different part of that what they wanted versus like kind of the center of it all in Indiana. Or they become, hey, we're going to build our second unit around you. And maybe that's a fine eventual landing spot for Derek Queen, is like, hey, you're going to be our first big off the bench, and we're going to be able to run offense through you, and you're going to crush second unit guys because you're really good. But I don't know if defensively and all that kind of stuff, if they are going to be able to get what they want out of Derek Queen. I don't know if he fits the player profile. All right, Anthony, is Bargos? Is that the name we're going for? All right, Bargos, who do you got for the Wizards tonight in the 2025 NBA draft?
Hey, Craig. I got hopefully Ace Bailey. I think with the high ceiling, the skill set, off the dribble bounce, shot making, hopefully we can square up some of his deficiencies. And I think it's worth the swing. Thanks.
Yeah, you got it. I think we talked about Ace obviously off the top. I think he is a really intriguing guy. And here's what I said this yesterday, Anthony. He's the most dangerous guy in the draft to me. Because if you don't pick him and you're wrong, you're going to feel like an idiot. And if you pick him and you're wrong, you're also going to feel like an idiot. Like, either way, I could see him being the guy that you're like, I cannot believe we passed on that guy, where he's turns into a general, like a really genuine, like all NBA type of scorer, playmaker, all that stuff. Some of the areas that are wanting in his game round out, and especially if you get him in the right situation. And I could also see where it's like you take him, and some of the stories about, oh, I want to go somewhere where I'm this, I just get a bunch of shots, and you're like, that's who you are as a player, is kind of a selfish, for lack of a better term, shot taker, and you don't make a lot of them because you're 6'7", not 6'10", and you're going to be like, well, that was a waste of a draft pick. So to me, Ace is the most dangerous guy, and this is where you have to trust your scouts. And your scouts have to be really good at not only scouting the player, but scouting the person. And that's kind of where I'm at on Ace Bailey.
No, I would agree, but I feel like players like the Melos, players like Paul George, who else are like some other like tough shot makers? Like, you need that in today's NBA. Like, I think that's what it boils down to. Sometimes. Like,
Shai.
Can you make tough shots?
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is a tough shot maker.
Yep.
And he's averaged 30 a game, 3 straight years, just won an MVP and led his team to the title. He also had 12 assists and 1 turnover. Obviously, he's a point guard, so I think the Paul George, Carmelo comparisons are much more apt than Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. But, like, the thing about PG and Melo is, like, them dudes are big. Like, Paul George is very tall, very long. Carmelo was, like, 6'8", 240. Like, he was built. He would back you down and just dump dudes under the basket.
And PG also has handle with him too. So
yeah, PG's handle's
that helps.
Crazy. And so, like, I'm trying to think of another dude who just – I mean, this is previewing a little bit. This will become obvious when we air this interview at 5 o'clock. I taped with Kevin Pelton earlier today, and, like, a guy that he brought up was, like, Adam Morrison. Had a similar statistical profile to Ace Bailey. And obviously Adam Morrison famously did not work out. All right, when we get back, well, Josh Robbins is here, so we're going to take the commercial break that precedes Josh Robbins. I'm going to rearrange the chairs, and then we're going to talk basketball with Josh Robbins next on The Hoffman Show. the Hoffman Show, Wizards Draft Show edition here on the Team 980. Always live on the free Odyssey app, streaming live on YouTube too at the Team 980, where you see we have reconfigured the room ever so slightly to accommodate my good friend Josh Robbins. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us twice in a week here. Had you on the phone last week, and we kind of ended with this thought about team building and what we were learning from the NBA finalists and how, with the second apron, now being such a hard cap, basically a hard cap, teams are treating it as such. They're like, we cannot go into that thing. How that landscape is changing the league. And sure enough, we see yesterday the Wizards ensure that they could be a soft landing spot for a team next year who's trying to unload talent with the Jordan Poole trade. As you've had time to digest the finals here for a couple of days, think about what the Pacers have done, think about what the Thunder did, and run it through the lens of this team that we both cover. What are some of the things that you think that they're doing well, and some of the areas where you're like, I wonder if they'll lean into that as the landscape changes?
Well, what they have not had the benefit of is luck in the lottery in a year where there are top level prospects, like this one, where there are two very high top level prospects. Last year, the runner-up in the lottery got the person they thought was the very best prospect, but it was a bad year at the top of the draft. What are they doing well? Well, they're creating a ton of cap flexibility. They've found a way to move off their most onerous contracts, the Beal contract and the Jordan Poole contract, which they got in the first place because they had to unload Beal, and have given themselves some optionality.
Yeah.
To sound highfalutin here. And what you said is exactly what I wrote yesterday afternoon after the deal was agreed to, that potentially $100 million in cap space next summer most likely will be used to bring on a contract or two or three where they get a valuable pick in return. What did Indiana and OKC show? Well, it showed that you can build a finals roster with your best player coming in via trade. And the problem right now with the Wizards is I'm not sure they have anyone on their roster who could bring back the caliber of who SGA was several years ago when the Clippers let him go, or Tyrese Halliburton when the Kings let him go for Sabonis. So that's what they have to do. They either have to develop their players who they already have or somehow draft someone who could become a top-level player.
The other thing I think we talked about, too, was the changing landscape or one thing I think it's important to talk about on draft day, whether we talked about it or not, is the changing landscape of who the best players in the league are. Forever, it's top 3 pick type of guys. It's your number 1 overall picks. Now we see, let's just run through the guys, right? SGA was a 10th, forget the fact that he was traded. I think people who know understand why the Clippers made that move. It didn't wind up working out for them, but they understand why. But still, he was a 10th or 11th pick in the draft. Halliburton, same thing. You have Giannis, who's international but 15th. Jokic, second round. They're coming from different places. The All-NBA teams have never had more difference and disparity in terms of where those players were drafted. Why is a interesting discussion in terms of heavier international, less data in college, all these kinds of things. But is there something that you see as a common thread between some of these guys where, is there something to figure out here, or is there just an element of luck, or is it actually not even as much about drafting? And this is a fun conversation. Is the development piece maybe more important than ever? And is that something that, if you're Washington, you've invested a lot of money in, and hopefully you're hoping that's the correct answer?
Probably all of the above. It's going to be very tough to make gains if you can't develop. Giannis was developed, although he also physically grew into the person he is now. Jokic, I'm not so sure if he was developed. He almost had that certain unusual skill ahead of time. I think what it signals to me is that the American way of developing very young players has lost a bit of its edge. Certainly it's not where it was 25 years ago, where the top prospects would spend 2-3 years in college under a top-level college coach And in the years since, the influence of AAU it's just never been higher. And all of the old school coaches will tell you that the AAU influence from players coming out of the United States has been maybe not malign, but not optimal.
Yeah.
So it seems like the developmental system here in the United States is not is losing ground relative to the rest of the world. And as for Giannis, the people who drafted him will tell you, yes, they saw a possibility, but they also got lucky. I don't think they ever thought he'd become who he is.
Right.
They will tell you that. So those are my thoughts there.
Yeah, Josh Robbins of The Athletic with us here on the Hoffman Show. So to me, that actually is a nice segue into the guy who's the most intriguing player in the draft tonight, which is Ace Bailey. Because I could tell you why Ace Bailey, like, I think I just said this last segment, like, he's the most dangerous guy in the draft. Because if you don't take him and he winds up being awesome, you're like, I should have known. Son of a gun. That guy's so good. How do we pass on him? And if you take him and he busts, then all the signs are right there. So what do you do with that information, Josh?
Well, you better have done a ton of your own work. Not you, Craig Hoffman, but we're talking about the Wizards, right? The Wizards are said to be
one of his preferred destinations.
Yes, that also. All of these teams, and in this case the Wizards, they better have done their own original scouting and then deep dive research into his past teams and also his medicals, as with any player. If you don't have that, and you don't have that apparatus, and you don't trust that scouting, in that case, that's where probably you'd be a lot less likely to pick him if you didn't trust your own scouting. The Wizards have a deep belief in this scouting and intel gathering system that they have. Now, what they have determined about Ace Bailey is unclear. Okay?
Right.
But they at least have that apparatus and certainly the experience where they should be able to make as informed a decision as possible, except for the fact that he is said to have not worked out for any individual
Do
teams.
you believe that, by the way? Like, do you think that we're going to find out that whether it's Washington or whoever takes him had a secret meeting, secret workout somewhere?
I guarantee that if he gets picked tonight here and faces questions from the Washington media, he will be asked that question.
I wonder who would ask it. Perhaps Varun Shankar of the Washington. No, I'm just kidding. Josh Robbins with us here on the Hoffman Show.
If he gets to the mic first, he will, and he's sharp, and so he could. You
got to watch out for those young guys. They're quick.
I've got. Well, who's to say I'm not young?
That's the correct retort, not me.
Well, now I'm suddenly offended. Not the Varoons.
I mean,
part, but
I've known Varun
stuff.
since he was in high school, and that wasn't that long ago.
All right, well, I was in high school once, too.
So was I.
Okay, well, anyway, I think we're getting off topic.
Welcome to the show, Josh. Off topic is what we do.
Who are we talking about, Bailey?
Yeah, that's who we were talking about. We can keep talking about him. People probably care about that more than when I was in high school.
With Ace Bailey, I want to know, in addition to, did you work out anywhere? Mm-hmm. If you didn't work out anywhere, or if you wanted to go to Washington, as the rumors said you did, why?
Right.
And is that why you didn't work out for other teams or for Washington, or you did work out here? Who knows? That has to be asked.
Of course.
And preferably tonight, but if not then when he gets formally, physically introduced to the media.
No doubt. Jeremiah Fears is another guy that I'm more interested in than I was when our show started yesterday about 30 minutes after the Poole news, but before that news broke yesterday. There's now just not as much of a logjam at that position. You know, one of the things they obviously care about here is development, the ability to get guys minutes. We saw that last year with Kuzma still here, but Avia traded, and knowing that Bilal needed some more minutes, and then they ultimately, draft Keyshawn George. That works out well. So, long story short, Jeremiah Fears is a guy that I think is a really interesting fit because he ticks a box that I know Will Dawkins cares about, and then there's a gigantic question mark in another box that I know Will Dawkins cares about. The one he ticks is speed. They want to play fast here. That guy might be the fastest player in the draft. His handle is great. He's going to get out and push. That fits what a wizard is offensively. Defensively, he's to say he's got a lot to be desired. It's the old, he's 2 years away from being 2 years away. That might be him defensively. How do you think he would fit with what Will and Michael and that crew is building?
Ultimately, you got to be able to shoot in this league. That's one of the lessons that, once again, the finals have shown. You've got to be able to play at least 4 out. Can he be at least a league average shooter? Preferably, you'd want much better than that. Is he tall enough to provide the defensive presence and to be as effective offensively as you need to be? Those are the questions. And the Wizards wanting to play fast, well, the Wizards aren't much different from almost anybody else, particularly these bad teams. They want to play fast because if they're in the half court, they can't score otherwise. And you prefer to get shot opportunities in transition where the percentages are higher, but you also want to cross half court and get into your offense so you have more time to run actions so you can somehow generate a shot. 8 years from now or 5 years from now, whenever they get relevant, hopefully from their perspective they have someone who's good enough who could score in the half court, particularly in the playoffs. How does he fit in? There's a lot I have in my hand here, and the folks watching on TV, I have the Athletics draft guide written by a friend of mine, Sam Viceni. Fears is definitely within this tier of 6 prospects who the Wizards would consider after Harper goes off the board. But my man Viceni has Fears ranked as the 18th best prospect in this draft. So he's a polarizing prospect. What he certainly did was he made a big-time impact at Oklahoma at the age of 18 as one of the youngest players in college basketball, which is a feather in his cap. Just like Ace Bailey is polarizing, so is Fears, although not for probably the reasons we perceive.
It feels like the two guys that are no longer polarizing are Knippel and Edgecombe. Like, is there any chance that we think that those guys are on the board by the time Washington's picking at 6?
Certainly not with Edgecombe, unlikely with Knippel, who is probably the most NBA ready of the guys who are in this third tier. Interesting.
Any other things from like other teams, moves, things that you're kind of watching, rumors that are swirling around that have piqued your interest from your colleagues at The Athletic or otherwise that you think have an impact tonight?
Well, I'm most interested to see who, if anyone, trades up to 3 or 4 or 5. And I wonder how much of the smoke about teams potentially trading up 2-3 emanate from the team that holds that number 3 pick, Philly. I don't know the answer to that. Is it possible that this is all coming from Philly? Possible. Certainly, I think the Wizards would love to trade up, and I'm not necessarily convinced that it would be Bailey. It might be Edgecombe at 3. I think it probably would be Edgecombe at 3. That's one thing. And then the biggest thing league-wide are these trades that have been made, particularly by the Celtics, who are, as you said, they're avoiding the second apron like the plague. They're saving hundreds of millions of dollars in tax. And are they finished yet? I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's part of what's interesting to me.
Well, we'll be keeping an eye on it here until 7 o'clock, and then I'm going to get up and leave, and Linnell Willingham's going to put on this headset. Everything will be louder, but it's okay. We'll turn the volumes down on that fancy device over there. Linnell will take us here on the Team 980 on our draft show through 11 o'clock. Josh, you'll be over yonder doing your work. Read Josh Robbins in The Athletic. Anthony, we can skip what's trending. Internal comms note there. And Josh, thanks for stopping by.
You're welcome.
We'll be back with more draft coverage next here on the Team 980. Coming up at 5 o'clock, ESPN.com's Kevin Pelton on the Jordan Poole trade. Kevin is, of course, the god of trade grades for ESPN. By the way, the Athletics' Zach Harper, who is their trade grade guru and generally great NBA podcaster and writer, he's going to join us on Friday. So Pelton in 10 minutes, Harper Friday. Chase Hughes later on in the show. Shakira Austin, WNBA Eastern Conference Player of the Week for your Washington Mystics, who had a huge dub last night against the Minnesota Lynx. Hey, no Nafisa Collier, doesn't matter, still a dub. They were able to take advantage of the Lynx not having their best player and stack a win, pulling back within a game of 500. Shakira at 5:30 before she heads off to Las Vegas, where they start a 3-game road trip tomorrow. Right now, though, Anthony, let's take a look back inside David Aldridge's NBA Draft Confidential. And one player that we haven't mentioned a ton that I think is intriguing for the Wizards and occasionally is being mocked up pretty high is Duke center Kaman Maluak. I should really get the pronunciation exact there. I'll have to do that, especially if he is a Washington Wizard. But how about this from college head coach number 1? Again, the NBA Draft Confidential, we've been reading some excerpts from it the last couple of days as a discussion point to talk about some of these guys. David Aldridge talks to execs and college coaches, like NBA execs and coaches, college coaches, and now there's like college general managers too, and gives them anonymity to be able to be honest about players. And so this college head coach who says, or whose team played Duke this year, says, I actually think he has the biggest upside of anybody in the draft. He's huge, and he's long. He's a good athlete. I think he has natural defensive instincts. He shoots the ball better than I think maybe he was able to show this year. He's a live body. He's enthusiastic about playing. It seems he loves the process, is not afraid of it. He's competitive. He's not afraid. He's ready to mix it up if he needs to. He has length, size, and athleticism. And then when you add those other things, I think the only thing that could stop him is injury. Where do we sign? If that's who he is, holy crap. Sign me up. Now, is that actually who he's going to be? That I think is up for more debate, Anthony. But if he is all of that stuff and he's better than people think, well, by definition, that's better than people think. The question is, are people thinking wrong?
Yeah, and I just think, I mean, he's a young guy for one. One and done. The motor's there. And when I think about, what we already have here in Washington, like, I mean, having 2 young, athletic, big men who can, switch on to guards. I mean, I wouldn't want Milo Rush always defending a guard, but, the fact that he can step out to a degree, and then also pair him up with Alex Sarr, I mean, I think you could have a really good, young, balanced front court if we were to, add this young guy. So, I mean, based off what you also just read, like, his upside seems like it could be something, like, serious. And I got to watch my fair share of Duke this year as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to read a couple more things from 2 other people that he talked to. First, a Western Conference executive said, guys like him are only in one place for 11 to 13 years and they're starters. What's the worst case scenario he could be? Clint Capella? If you watched him in FIBA offensively, it's 2 completely different talents than he showed at Duke. In FIBA, he's shooting threes. At Duke, no. Think about other Duke bigs. Guys like Derek Lively, probably a little underrated. Mark Williams, been a good player. Like, the more I read, the more, and sometimes this is how it goes, right? They don't have any negative things to say in what David collected here, and there's reasons why he's dropped a little lower. But hyper competitive, great positional size, has potential as a shooter. Like, what's not to like at that point?
But aren't we also seeing, I guess, more double big lineups? Even like the Mavs, you look at, how successful they were when they had Luka, where they had 3 big men that they were constantly rotating, and then at all times they had 2 guys that could be rim protectors to an extent. So even if you look at the Oklahoma City Thunder, for most of the season they ran a double big lineup and it worked well. They had, Hartenstein, who could do multiple things. They had Chet, who do, multiple things. And if this guy's going to expand his game, and then you pair that up with Alex Sarr, who, can do pretty much everything, I think it will make for, a dynamic front court.
For sure. All right. Derek Queen, we got some calls on Derek Queen earlier, and I think these are good to read unless you just don't want to be told anything negative about Derek Queen. So, from David Aldridge's NBA Draft Confidential, Eastern Conference executive told DA, I've been telling our guys, you watch him before the games and he seems lackadaisical. He doesn't show a serious side, and that's a turnoff to some people. I'm like, think of Naz Reid when he was at LSU. It was the same damn thing. The games never got too big for Queen. So, that's actually a positive one. It's like, oh, he can be a little unprofessional. He's not locked in. But that carefree attitude has a positive side that in the biggest moments, he's just like, I got this, bro. Give me the damn ball and get out the way, which we obviously saw with the famous shot he hit in the NCAA tournament. College assistant who played against Maryland. The skill is real. The knowledge of the game and how to get where he needs to go. Crafty is a real thing. He's not jumping over a phone book. I worry about, can he guard? Who's he going to guard is my question. College assistant number 3. I am not a Derek Queen guy. He can't shoot. Look at his three-point percentage and number of attempts. I don't know who he's going to guard. Very skilled with the ball because he's got great hands. Good from 15 feet on in. Doesn't run fast or hard, but he hardly took any threes. And the way the NBA game is right now, what are you going to do? But he's a great rebounder. Western Conference scout number 1. Nice kid, heavy emphasis on kid. We interviewed him, and he's 19 going on 14. He can do one thing. He can score. But you don't want to have to rely on a scoring rookie for you to contribute. You want to know what he reminds me of? All of us, or like reading that, who he reminds me of? Jahlil Okafor.
I think he was a little bit big. Like Jahlil was bigger though.
Jahlil was big, but Derek Queen's big.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. This kind of player, sure, if he rounds out his game and plays defense, could he do it? But is there also a chance he's Thomas Bryant? Is there a chance that he's Jahlil Okafor? Is there a chance that he's insert other slow-footed big who's really, really skilled but doesn't have true three-point range and thus would have been better suited to play in the NBA in 1997? In a more half-court, we'll post you up and get you single coverage type of game. Yeah. I loved the Derek Queen Maryland experience. I would not want to bet on the Derek Queen NBA experience. But we'll see. Someone's going to. They're going to get a guy that's got a, again, there are worse things you can do in the NBA than score. But that might be all that Derek Queen can do. And if that's all you can do, it's going to be hard to stay on the floor because your net value is not very high. But we'll see. It's the Hoffman Show here on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. We're streaming live on YouTube from Wizards Draft HQ, just a couple floors above where the Wizards War Room is, where they will take the 6th overall pick tonight or trade it. We will see. They also have number 18, of course, in the first round. Full coverage all the way through with Linnell Willingham, who picks up from us here at 7 o'clock. When we get back here on the Team 980, Kevin Pelton, ESPN.com, joins us with his trade grade for the Wizards and the Jordan Poole deal. the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app, streaming live on YouTube too at the Team 980. Yeah, if you're watching on the YouTube stream, that was Mitch Tischler, though, just walked behind me. The one and only. He's here doing some stuff for Monumental Sports tonight. We're live at Wizards Draft HQ, War Room down below us, press conference room, all that kind of stuff over yonder. Big old gigantic TV to watch the draft on for the media folks here. So they got a great setup here at the Wharf, and excited to be here and broadcasting live. Chase Hughes, before he gets to work tonight, will join us on set here at somewhere in the 6 o'clock hour. We will also talk to Shakira Austin in half an hour. But earlier today, before I came down here, I was able to chat up my guy Kevin Pelton, ESPN.com, and that is today's edition of Not My Beat.
Today's top story from the perspective of someone who's there.
You are looking live.
This just in.
Not My Beat.
If there's a trade, we have to talk to Kevin Pelton. Those are the rules. ESPN.com, NBA writer who's been doing trade grades and so much more. Great analysis for ESPN for years, and it's our pleasure to have him back on the show. KP, what's up, my guy?
Nothing much. Yeah. Happy to be on call for you.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, you're on call for people way more important than me, like the people that pay your paycheck. So I appreciate a little bit of time during a very, very busy time. Let's dive right in. Like, what do you give the Wizards for the Jordan Poole trade yesterday, and why?
Yeah, I gave them a B+ on this one. I mean, fundamentally, this is a trade that boils down to, would you rather have the 1 year left on CJ McCollum's contract or the 2 years left on Jordan Poole's contract? And I'd rather have the 1 year. I think if Jordan Poole didn't have substantial trade value after the season that he had last year, where he actually kind of did all the things I think that the Wizards were hoping that he would do when he got to Washington, when they included him in the Chris Paul trade, I don't think it was going to happen after next year either. I think to rebuild his trade value, he's going to have to show what he can do in New Orleans, that he can be a part of a winning team and, contribute in that way, and that, the offensive stats that he puts up are not kind of just empty parts of a team that isn't really particularly going anywhere. And, maybe he could have done that, particularly with more veterans. We did see the Wizards being more competitive once they got Chris Middleton and Marcus Smart in there. But I don't know that the fact that those guys, were able to make them successful and Poole alone necessarily reflects that well in his value either. So this way you get CJ McCollum, who's, someone who is going to sort of be complementary to the Wizards' young talent for whatever period of time he is on the roster. And then, either he's traded at the deadline or he's an expiring contract. And then the Wizards grab all this additional cap space for the summer of 2026, where, there's going to be a lot more teams with cap space. It's not going to be a situation like this year where Brooklyn was able to extract a first-round pick for taking on, a not unreasonable Terrence Mann contract in another deal that happened yesterday, but still going to be in a position where they probably will have the most money on the board and be the team that other teams are calling when they need to dump contracts.
So B+ is good, depending on who or how you feel about your academics, but it's certainly a good trade grade. What would they have needed to do to get an A for you, if that's a fair question I can ask?
Get some positive draft return. I mean, they are giving up the number 40 pick in this year's draft. I don't think that's going to be, a huge difference maker for the Wizards, given the first round picks that they have and the youth that they already have on their roster. But, giving up number 40 for a future second rounder, the odds are, not good necessarily that you're going to get a pick higher than that in the future. And I think the Wizards are okay with that. But, if they had pulled this off without including that, then we're getting into the A range.
Got it. So when you look at this draft now, is there anybody in particular that, like, I think of like a Jeremiah Fears, obviously at the point guard position directly, but even a guy like Ace Bailey, who's been mocked to the Wizards a lot, including by your ESPN colleagues, Jonathan Givony and Jeremy Woo, like, there's just more shots available? Like, is there someone that you think fits the Wizards now, and especially even better without Poole? Like, what direction do you, if you're the Wizards, are you hoping the board goes tonight to have someone available?
Yeah, I mean, I do think this potentially signals, more likelihood that they go guard because, CJ McCollum is someone who is still capable of starting and, probably will expect that is his role for whatever period of time he's on the roster. He's clearly not part of your future in the way that Jordan Poole potentially was given his age. So, if it is Jeremiah Fears, I think that does make a lot of sense. Ace Bailey, it's a tough one for me to wrap my head around. He was so inefficient as a scorer at Rutgers. And one of the earliest draft truths I feel like I learned, was with Adam Morrison in particular. And there's been a number of guys that I can think of since then. But Johnny Davis would frankly be an example of this to scare off Wizards fans. If you're making difficult shots in college, well, that shot making is impressive. The fact that you aren't able to get easy shots against college opposition is a huge red flag for your ability to do so at the NBA level, where you're going to need to, unless you're Kevin Durant. And I think we have established, based on the combination of Ace Bailey's freshman season and the measurements that we saw at the Combine, that he is not Kevin Durant, who was rightfully considered a unicorn when he came out of college. Like, it's going to be very difficult for you to score efficiently, subsisting primarily on mid-range jumpers off the dribble. So I do think, there are situations where if Ace Bailey goes to the right team, that he can improve his shot selection, make good on the defensive potential that we did see last year at Rutgers, that I think was very exciting, and the obvious shot making skill, and become a good player. I think there's some comparisons to maybe Boston's two star players, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Jaylen Brown, in my projections, had basically the worst projection of any player who has been successful of all time. I think he was like 103 in the stats only rankings, and a little higher in the consensus version that also factors in where they are in that big board from not necessarily the mock draft, but the top 100 that Wu and Gavoni do, that sort of is more a clearer distillation of where they think on pure talent. But he dramatically outperformed that. Jason Tatum, I think people forget that at Duke, there was a lot of concern that he was going to be this, low volume scorer, low percentage shooter based on what we saw from him. And both those guys went to a team in Boston that was veteran laden, where to play, they had to learn good habits and be role players for a period of time. So the thing that concerns me is when I hear reported, forget about the workouts, I don't care about that, but hear reported that Ace Bailey wants to go to a situation where he can shoot as much as possible to develop as a star. That's not how you develop as a star. How you develop as a star is by developing good habits. So that's what would concern me with the Wizards specifically, although at some point there is a spot where Ace Bailey, the potential outweighs the risk.
Yeah, for sure. And they have good vets here, but if he is thinking he's going to come in and not learn from, hey, no, CJ, I got it. I just give me the ball and I'll shoot CJ McCollum and Marcus Smart and Chris Middleton, then that's obviously less than ideal and is not going to work out. Kevin Pelton, ESPN, with us here on the Hoffman Show. So getting back to the trade market and kind of some wider thoughts, although I guess this one folds into why the Wizards do this, right? You talked about the 2 year versus 1 year. They're going to have boatloads of cap space next year, which will allow them to absorb contracts and hopefully draft capital with them. That's the whole reason they would be absorbing them. Or they can trade for an expensive but good player if they, win the draft lottery next year and want to kickstart things into a higher gear. But the main thing is they're going to make themselves available as a trade landing spot for someone expensive. In the modern league, Kevin, with the second apron, which is basically acting as a hard cap, teams looking to shed salary more often, how do you change how you value what the Wizards have done here conceptually? It's obviously specific to the Wizards, but the concept of what they're pushing for here.
Yeah, I think one of the things we're still wrapping our mind around is what's the cost of dumping salary at this point? And that's a tough equation because you just sort of don't know, how much in the league do teams consider a player overpaid? I mentioned that Terrence Mann deal that the Nets made yesterday, where they got the number 22 pick in this year's draft for taking Terrence Mann 3 years left at $15.5 million. That's an overpay for Terrence Mann. I didn't like it when the Hawks gave up second round picks to get him for Bogdan Bogdanovic at the deadline from the Clippers. But Terrence Mann is clearly a useful player. If he was in free agency, would it be $10 million a year that he would get on a similar deal? $8 million, somewhere in that range. So we're talking 15 to 21 million. They got a first round pick to get off of. And, I don't think the value is going to be that great for Washington or anyone else, looking forward, because Brooklyn was so uniquely positioned in terms of having cap space this summer. And, there weren't a lot of teams that can make a deal like that. But if that's the value and you're the Wizards and you're sitting there looking at, 80 million or whatever the number is. I haven't even really looked closely at what the number might be for cap space next summer, and the equivalent in terms of taking on long-term contracts using these expiring deals at the deadline. Like that's a lot of picks you can accumulate. And that's the one thing is, so far I think it's more been about kind of cleaning things up for Washington than necessarily accumulating these big time assets. Although obviously they did get, several first round picks last year and then ended up with AJ Johnson to give them another 2024 first round pick.
Is there anybody, I don't know if you've gotten ahead on this work yet, and if so, we can just keep it moving. I'll ask you my last question. But is there someone or some ones that you kind of see as a target of like, ooh, that's a hot spot that teams are looking at around the league where a player, they're probably going to want to get off that player a year from now? Or is it just, is the lesson of the NBA finals and these NBA playoffs that who the hell knows, because we don't know who might get hurt or what, team might surprise us, or in the Pacers case, both?
Yes, exactly. Indiana is, I think, a team that you'll look at because if they re-sign Miles Turner, they'll push into the luxury tax. And it was one thing for them to start the season in the tax with Tyrese Halliburton healthy and knowing that you've got a chance to go to the finals again. I think it's going to be much tougher for them to justify now. I still think, you need Miles Turner as part of this group long-term, so is that Obi Toppin? Is that Benedict Mathurin that they ended up having to shed? Kind of depends where the Turner contract comes in, but that's a team, I'm definitely keeping my eye on between now and the 2026 trade deadline. As you said, yeah, I mean, we knew Boston, something was likely to happen with Drew Holiday, given the size of his contract and the size of the luxury tax bill that they were staring at. But we didn't know that it was going to be as extreme as what we've already seen from Boston. And, based on what my colleague Shams Charania reported last night, it sounds like they're still taking calls on Jaylen Brown and Derek White. There's still maybe more to come. Phoenix is then the obvious other team that everyone's going to look at. They want to do it right now, I think. So, the expiring contracts from Washington may not be as valuable, but, they're still a team that at this point is over the second apron, and it doesn't really make much sense and they've got a mismatched roster now where they've got these multiple shooting guards. So plenty more to come, but yeah, there's going to be teams we just don't necessarily know exactly which ones in a year.
So ending on Phoenix leads to the last question, because the trade that happened, the Poole trade, is a direct descendant, if you will, of the Beal contract and the Beal trade. So if we put the starting point at when the current regime, Winger, Dawkins, get here to DC, what have you made of the project and how Washington has dug themselves out of that hole and how they've set themselves up while acknowledging that they have done next to no winning on the court so far?
I mean, I wrote the other day that I think patience is the most valuable commodity in the modern NBA. And, the Wizards for a long period of time were among the franchises that exhibited no patience, and it's the reason they got in this hole in the first place. And they have been very patient for the last few years, and I think done well. And, I think the one thing I would say about this group is they have not yet been able to hit a home run. If you look at, the way that Oklahoma City got set up, the way that Houston got set up, they hit home runs via trade that were able to facilitate the young rosters that they've built. And Washington hasn't done that yet. There hasn't been we're getting 3 first-round picks for this guy. The only guy they got multiple first-round picks for, if I'm remembering correctly, is Denny Avdia. And frankly, if you look at that a year later, as that happened on the night of the draft, they didn't get enough for Denny Avdia. I think it would take many more first-round picks to acquire Avdia a year later, as well as he played in Portland. But they have hit a lot of singles, maybe some doubles. They're continuing to stack together base runners. I think eventually that's going to pay off, especially if they are able to hit that home run at some point through the draft, which would either require this year's number 6 pick being much better than we expected, or some lottery luck next year, given that it didn't work out for them this year. But they have undone the damage now. They're in they basically have the cleanest cap sheet in the league, because even Brooklyn has some long-term contracts on their books to go along with all the cap space this summer. And, now they're in the position, I think, to really start making some more favorable trades as opposed to being forced to trade from more of a position of weakness.
Right, and that's the thing about that Oklahoma City rebuild. It doesn't happen without Paul George and the leverage they had over the Clippers because of the Kawhi Leonard factor, and that gets them Shea, and you hit the ground running. The Wizards, they didn't have any assets really to trade. They had an expiring Kristaps Porzingis, who they didn't have. It was like we do the deal or we lose him for nothing. It was Beal who had the no trade clause, so they were really backed into a corner there. And obviously they did their best with Kyle Kuzma and. Obviously, I think they probably, in hindsight, would have rather traded him last summer than they did at the deadline. But you didn't know that was going to happen. So it's a tough league, Kevin Pelton. So that's what I've heard. It's tough to win. Kevin Pelton writing about it all, ESPN.com. He'll have trade grades for any other deals that go down, as well as draft grades as well after tonight and tomorrow. Kevin, always appreciate you, sir. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, this is DA, and you're listening to The Hoffman Show on the Team 980.
One thing that I'm listening back to the end of that conversation with Kevin, again, I was able to chat with him a little earlier today before coming down here to Wizards Draft HQ. One thing listening back to that I think is so striking is, like, the Denny thing is tough because he was really excellent for Portland in the second half of the season. And maybe he would command, if Desmond Bane is worth 5, maybe he would command 3 or 4 first-round picks based off of what he, did in Portland and the contract he's on and all of that stuff. But when they traded him, he was also a guy who had never scored 15 points a game. And, he averaged that in the second half of the year, and that barely got him over 15 a game for the year in Portland. So while he played very well and the trajectory seems very good, what happens next year over the full year? How much does it drive winning? That's still very up for debate when it comes to Denny Advia. But outside of Denny, and look, what I was going to say too is, you got that. Kuz probably traded 6 months too late. Maybe Denny's traded 6 months too early. And you just hope that, those aren't the margins. But it's just, by and large, I don't think this group has swung and missed at all. And you can only swing at the pitches that come at you. And I think this is the hardest part of figuring out what the path forward for this Washington team is, and why I endorse what they're doing, but also acknowledge that it very much could fall flat. Is you just have to get lucky in this league. Even the teams that you're like, oh, wow, well, the Pacers and Halliburton, and it's even to some extent a bad example, or actually maybe it's the ultimate example. They didn't realize the Kings didn't realize what they had in Halliburton. But also, 10 teams could have taken Tyrese Halliburton. So you have to get lucky that you're the team that the guy falls to, that you've identified, and then you have to develop it all right. Then he's got to stay healthy, then this, and then you have to surround him. And, there's a lot of steps to the process to be really, really good in the NBA. And, getting a pick right for Washington tonight at 6 will go a long way, but right might not mean the superstar. Right might mean the eventual third guy on the title team. And how do you get the next 2? That's the key. And that is the mystery, like Kevin said, that they haven't been able to solve yet. But I also don't know that they've missed an opportunity to do that. So we can acknowledge both things, that they have not achieve the thing that you need to achieve to be a serious contender, but they also have not really had the opportunity because in the draft where they picked second, there were guys that would barely be scratching the top 10 this year available. And in the draft where they probably should have been, or they had the second best odds, they wind up finishing or getting the 6th pick, and we'll see what they do with that this evening. That's the tough luck of the NBA, but you have to also, luck. Doesn't mean anything if you're not ready for it. And so they're still in the getting ready for it phase. It appears. Perhaps they get lucky tonight, and the 6th pick turns into an all-star player and a centerpiece for a competitive team in the future. And we'll look back on June 25th, 2025 is the day that it all started. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. We are also seeing a rebuild, of course, with the Mystics. That one's farther along, and they've got some excellent young players, Kiki Iriefin, Sonia Citron, and somehow Shakira Austin, a former top pick, is almost forgotten for a hot second. It's like, well, she's hurt all the time. Oh, and then she came back. She finally got healthy. She's been balling for the last week and a half, 2 weeks since being reinserted into the starting lineup, so much so that she won the Eastern Conference Player of the Week, and we're going to talk to her about it all next on the Team 980.
exciting to watch and to see her, just kind of come out of her shell just a little bit. And hopefully, next time we get a little bit of talking.
It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well in the free Odyssey app. And of course, we're your home for Mystics basketball. Big win last night against the Minnesota Lynx, powered in part by your Eastern Conference Player of the Week, Shakira Austin, who joins us now. Shakira, congratulations, by the way, on Player of the Week.
Thank you.
And another win last night. You guys didn't get off to the greatest start last night, but how were you able to rebound, come back, finish strong, and secure that dub?
Yeah, I mean, we just have to continue to stick to our principles. Our defense is what really carries us and allows us to play the offensive style we want. And, we're able to stack those stops. We just have to execute on the other end. So we've been in positions where, we've been down before. So it wasn't, a question about whether we could fight it out and do it. It was just executing.
For you, I feel like the effort level is always there, the rebounding. It's sometimes, obviously, it's basketball, like the shots come and go. Have you felt yourself, as you've gotten deeper into your career, been able to make sure the other stuff dissipates, as you miss a layup here, you miss a jump shot there? Like, that happens. It's basketball. But that, the defensive side never wavers. And who has helped you, continue to develop that professional mentality?
Yeah, I mean, I've always, wanted to establish myself as a complete two-way player. My energy, the same as how our system is, it runs off of my defense. That's something that, since high school, I've been really dominant with, and that's something that I can bring every day, like you say, no matter missed shot or missed layup. But now that I'm able to, kind of put the full package together a little bit better and continue to grow my IQ and just slow the game down, everything is kind of opening up, and you see the level I'm able to impact on both sides.
Shakira Austin with us here on the Hoffman Show. I was going to say, shots come and go, except for recently. Most of them are going in. You've got 28, 21, and 19 points in your last 3 games. What has started to really work for you offensively, and how much, Shakira, is it just simply health? Like, you're starting to feel like you again?
Yeah, part of it is definitely just finally being healthy and being able to compete and get those minutes and that experience. And the other part is, honestly getting the green light. I felt like I've had these abilities since coming into the league, but it was just about whether a team wanted to use them to their full capacity. And now that I'm, through with my injuries, Lord willing, I'm able to show what I can do. And, this isn't something that was just built from one off season, this is stuff I was doing my rookie season overseas. So it's just really about getting back to who I was, but also allowing myself to learn along the way and kind of just expand my IQ.
What have the conversations been like with Sydney as you work back from this injury from a minute standpoint? You obviously started coming off the bench. You're on some level of a minutes restriction, and then you get unleashed in the starting lineup and have really taken off. What were those conversations like to manage the expectations during that period? And then what was the conversation when he was like, all right, it's time, let's go, green light?
Yeah, so, the beginning of the season, obviously I didn't start it the way I wanted to. Had some knee issues that honestly have turned out to be growing pains. So that was,
are you telling me that you're getting taller, Shakira? That now we're going to have to change you? 6'6", 6'7"?
Yes,
Okay.
very, very much taller, 6'6". I literally hit the mark. I've never hit 6'6" even with shoes, and it kind of explains the things that were going on at the beginning of the season that really didn't have kind of like a solution. We didn't really know what was going on. I just knew it was hurting a little bit. As the season went on, I think the coaches and the staff, they definitely want to make sure that I'm healthy for the full season. But I was definitely ready to get out there. Like I wanted to get in and so I definitely, voiced my opinions on where I should be and, what type of, I know the type of player I am. And, we kind of cleared that roadblock of, okay, Shakira is, back in the starting lineup. Shakira is, full to go, no minute restrictions. That's really what took a lot of the mental aspect out of me overthinking, how the season had begun. And I was able to just focus on basketball and focus on continuing to be healthy. Like my routine was consistent no matter how many minutes I played. And, now I'm just seeing kind of the work pay off finally.
Your 6'6" Eastern Conference Player of the Week, Shakira Austin, with us here on the Hoffman Show. You obviously have played with a ton of different players over the last couple of years. This year, you have the rookies coming in, and there's all these questions about like, how will Shakira fit with, let's say, Kiki Irife. Turns out pretty well, Shakira. Turns out pretty well. What do you enjoy about playing with Kiki specifically along that front line?
Man, she's just a dog. Like, she's super tough and physical, and she's not afraid to, hit first in a sense. Like, she is going out there, like all of our rookies are out there, and they're competing at a high level, and they have the extreme confidence to, challenge anybody they step on the floor with. And, I like to consider myself a dog, and those are the type of players that I want to play with. People who compete every single day, people who are going to challenge me in practice, and just make each other better. And yeah, I definitely understood the questions of whether, I was going to fit, coming back to play with her. But that's just, to me, based off what they've seen in the past. That wasn't, to me, the real Shakira. I wasn't able to just be myself. So, I felt rushed, and I felt like I was forcing things. And now that I really have the ability to just play my game, play at my speed, and be truly like a playmaker, that's all I want to do. Like, I'm not here to just try to go out and score, 25 a game. Like, I can truly impact and make every single person on this team better. And I think I can help elevate Kiki to help her just get easy buckets. Like, we have to work a little hard in the paint to, one-on-one score efficiently. And I think having a post like me who can push the ball and, look for those high lows and, just use my IQ to help get those post entry passes, I think it's going to just help loosen everything up. And we're just going to continue to build our chemistry. Like, this is still only our, a couple games in where we're actually playing together. Like, when I first came in, we weren't even getting our minutes together. It was kind of like a one in, one out thing. And, I was like, let's go. Like, I know we can play together. I know that this can be, one of the best front courts in the league right now. And it's just exciting to have a rookie and to know that, I'm not truly a vet yet, but I have my experience. And, I definitely have my leadership role, and I'm just glad that I can, help bring this team and help us get some dubs.
Shakira, this is going to make all the old heads so happy, but I'm going to lean into it. Shakira Austin, tell me what makes a great post-entry pass. It's like this lost art, but like it's so important. Tell me what makes a good post-entry pass.
A good post-entry pass, you have to pass where the open hand is. Like,
yes.
Guards love, and no shade to them, but they love to throw the ball where they think it should go. Or, they just don't read like, okay, I'm asking for it high. You should throw it high. They throw a bounce pass. And I don't know. I just have that touch. Post players, we know where we want the ball. So it's definitely a lost art. And I think it needs to start back in AAU. We need to get back to focusing on some post-entry passes. I think a lot of college coaches would agree. But, yeah, it's definitely a true art once you master it.
I played like pickup. I was not a high school or college level basketball player.
Yeah.
But like, basketball is basketball to some extent. I used to drive me insane as a guard who would post up. I'm like, my hand's out. Throw it to my hand.
Yeah.
How hard is it? I'm literally telling you, just throw it to the hand. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Just throw it to the hand.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't get it.
No, they don't get it. Silly guards. Silly guards. Last thing, real quick, as we wrap up here with Shakira Austin on Kiki's especially. Do you ever look at her off the floor and just go, you're not the same person? There's no way that you on the floor, the dog, are this like puppy dog off the floor.
Yeah. Yeah, no, she has, I would say the same as me with, multiple personalities. You know, we step on the floor and we're straight menace. You know, we are dogs. We have a killer instinct, and you get off the court and like we play around, and she's literally just like someone's auntie, like little bougie auntie. She loves to, you know, just be sweet and be loud and goofy. You know, she just reminds me of myself, and you know, we're super loose off the court, but once we step in between those lines, it's over with. So I love that, you know, we have players who, like I said, we compete when we step on the floor, but once it's over, you know, we're back to our true selves. So.
And then last question on the other rookie that's hooping right now in Sony.
Yeah.
She hit the game winner the other night, and she celebrated for about 0.8 seconds. Is that the most excited that you've seen Sonia Citron in her Mystics career so far?
I believe so. Like, I've been working on her with her celly, trying to get some facial expressions. You know, she'd be like, Kira, how do you make those faces? Like, I want to make that face. And literally, and now that, you know, she's showing a little bit more, we got our little 3-point celebration, a little blowing the 3 kiss. So she's exciting to watch, man. Like, she's just coming out here, like I said, they're both just confident and just playing, you know, to their natural abilities. Like, it's just raw talent, and it's so exciting to watch and to see her, you know, just kind of come out of her shell just a little bit, and hopefully next time we get a little bit of talking, but we'll see.
We'll see. She it's almost like she caught herself. She was like, okay, that was enough.
Oh, yeah.
That was enough. Okay.
That's enough.
Oh no, my teammates are coming.
Yep. Too much.
Too much. Shakira Austin, Eastern Conference Player of the Week. Little road trip coming up, Las Vegas, Dallas, Minnesota, the next 3 for the Mystics. Shakira, best of luck on the road. We'll see you when you get back home, and appreciate your time as always here on the show.
Thank you.
What's up, kiddos? It's your boy Clinton Yates from ESPN. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980. Tell your mama I said what's up.
It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app, streaming live on YouTube too at the Team 980. We are locked and loaded here from Wizards Draft HQ, where tonight we will see the Wizards draft at 6. We will also see them draft at 18, unless, of course, they make a trade, in which case we will see that not happen, because that's how that works. Anthony, a couple of big trades across the NBA over the last couple of days that I think are worth discussing, and specifically, I think, well, if you want to talk about, like the Wizard through a Wizards lens, and of course everyone's always thinking about this stuff through a Wizards lens here in DC. For Wizards fans, at least, there's certainly fans of other teams, but we tend to be a little bit Wizards focused here. Like, the trade that they make yesterday to set up for 2026 is the kind of trade that prepares you for when the next Boston Celtics happens. And I hate what is happening to the Celtics, and I think we can separate the two things. The Boston Celtics should have been set up as well as basically any team in the league for the next, I don't know how many years, that they were going to, that they should have been the best team in the league. Roster-wise, obviously Oklahoma City is catching up quickly, but this is a extraordinarily talented Celtics group that was more mature and I think better rounded with the quad players of Holiday, Porzingis, Brown, and Tatum when healthy. And now Jason Tatum gets hurt. Porzingis has this kind of mystery illness in the middle of the year, and they're so strapped for money from a cap perspective, and obviously, like, their ownership doesn't want to have to pay a luxury tax if the team is not competing. I mean, I think that's something that's kind of understood. If you're not going to be competing for a championship, which is going to be really hard without Jason Tatum, then if you can save yourself $100 million, why wouldn't you? That's $100 million. And it's easy to say, yes, are these owners all billionaires and multi-billionaires, and do these businesses generate a ton of money? Yes, but ultimately, that's money that could be spent on player care or practice facilities or whatever. It's not all just, or paying other people in the organization. It's not just straight profit that they're keeping. So they want to save $100 million in a year where they're not competing. Not to mention the fact that if you're in the luxury tax a certain amount of years, or you're across the aprons, whatever, the penalties are stiffer for repeatedly, quote unquote, violating the salary cap. So there are competitive reasons as well. Point is, teams are going to do this. And I hate that the Celtics felt like they had to do this, because I would have loved to see in 2 years a healthy Jason Tatum with, if Brown and or Holiday and Porzingis are still there. Plus, I didn't even mention Derek White, who actually might have been the third best player on the team last year and is still there and is still part of their core because he's more age-wise in the range of Tatum and Brown. I would have loved to see that go against Oklahoma City and whoever else enters that equation. But here we are. Anthony Simons is a good player. He'll help them offensively. But I think the thing that made them great, the defensive dynamo that was the White Holiday duo with like Tatum, who's a good defender, and Brown, who's a very good defender, backing them up. Porzingis protecting the rim. Like it goes from a team that should have had a chance to compete for titles for 4 years to a team that won one, and then a year later, and a couple days gets broken up.
Yeah, like the second apron, man, it is doing numbers. But you were looking at it from like, the Celtics side of things. I think Drew Holiday going to the Trailblazers, I think there's going to be a team that, sees his value and ultimately, goes out and tries to trade for him.
Or do the Blazers just keep him? Because the Blazers might be good.
I mean, yeah, he's still good. I'm more so just thinking about, how we saw Alex Caruso used with the Thunder this year. And even 2 years ago when the Celtics won, or I guess last year when the Celtics won, how instrumental having a Drew Holiday was, like that role player that you necessarily need when you're building your team up. So I'm interested to see. I think a team like the Nuggets could definitely use his services because they've missed out on that the last couple of years, but they didn't have KCP and they didn't have Bruce Brown. So interested to see what happens with Drew Holiday.
Yeah, that's a great call. Nuggets is a great team. I just kind of wonder though, like if you're the Blazers, one, you are like the funny thing is if he gets rerouted from Portland, that would be twice that he gets rerouted from Portland. Because remember, he was there in the Dame trade. He was traded away from Milwaukee to Portland. Portland ultimately flips him to Boston. Boston wins a championship.
Yeah.
And the Nuggets feels like a great one. I mean, your boys in L.A.
They could definitely use.
That's the thing. Who couldn't use Drew Holiday?
Yeah.
Like Oklahoma City would just be like, fine, we got another defensive nightmare for people to deal with. Like literally, they're not going to obviously, but like they, literally every single team that you can name in the NBA would be better for having Drew Holiday on it. That's who Drew Holiday is as a player. But we'll see where he lands. Porzingis, man, I feel so bad for him. Like, he gets to Boston, he gets to win the title, but just you hope that we haven't seen the last of him as a great player. But I think yesterday we were pondering this around this time. Are the Hawks all of a sudden going to be decent in the East?
Yes, they will.
And an East that's not very good? I guess we'll see. Chase Hughes is now stepped outside here. We're going to have him step inside. And we're going to talk draft as we are just 2 hours from the NBA draft beginning. Of course, you'll hear it here on the Team 980. Linnell Willingham will anchor our coverage. But Chase Hughes steps in with us next here on the Hoffman Show. All right, it's our final hour. Not the final hour of the Wizards draft show, of course, because that is going till 11 o'clock with Leno Willingham, Craig Hoffman with you, as this is still technically also the Hoffman Show here on the Team 980, streaming live on YouTube, too, at the Team 980, where you see that I should have worn a nicer shirt. That is a well-dressed Chase Hughes.
It's draft night. You don't know if they're going to call your name, right? You got to be ready.
I'm sure at a press conference your name will be called, and then you'll ask Will Dawkins a question. Of course, Monumental Sports Network, Wizards Insider, and a guy who we were just talking about the break, man. You love the draft. Like,
it's my favorite thing.
What's the first draft you remember being like, oh, I love this?
Oh, man, I've watched it my entire life. It's been one of my favorite things, especially before the picks got leaked on Twitter. If you're a fan out there and you don't have to follow it on Twitter, don't. It's a much better TV
You don't have
event.
to be on social media tonight.
That's what I do for the NFL draft. I'm a Commanders fan. I watch the pick on TV, and then I pick up my phone and see what people are saying about it. But I've loved it for a long time. I would probably say going back to, like, I think it was like 2007. I was a Wizards fan, and the Wizards got Nick Young and Dominic McGuire. And I remember seeing them in Summer League and thinking they were going to be so good. But honestly, my first draft memories are like Rasheed Wallace and like Jerry Stackhouse days. So I go pretty far back.
That's some deep cuts right there. This draft is so interesting to me because obviously this would be a lot simpler night if this was just – I mean, it actually would have been a harder radio show in some ways. It's like, hey, guys, Cooper Flagg's coming. Like that would have been awesome. That would have been better for the long term. Although sometimes the acute, it's more interesting if there's options to talk about. So we know that's not happening. We're pretty sure that 2's not happening. That the Spurs are just going to take Dylan Harper. They're not going to trade. And also, like, I mean, look, I love me like some Corey Kispert, for instance, but like I don't know if that's going to be enough to get you up to the second pick. So is there a chance they trade up to 3, 4, or 5? Certainly, but at 6. Is there a player you look at and you go, that's the guy I hope falls to Washington?
That I hope falls to Washington? I think a great scenario would be if Trey Johnson was there of Texas. I don't expect him to be, but you never know. I think VJ Edgecombe is a pretty safe bet to go 3rd unless Philly does something and trades back. He's the best athlete in the draft, superstar defensive player on the perimeter, and I think has a chance to be a really good offensive player too. After that, I think Trey Johnson is the 4th best prospect in this draft. I think he could be a Devin Booker-like scorer. So I think it just doesn't make sense that he would be there at 6 because he's the type of player and the type of athlete that isn't usually there. So I think that would probably be the best-case scenario. But I think the Wizards are in a good spot, especially if they're looking to add some offense. They focused on defense the last 2 years. If it's not Trey Johnson, there's going to be a guy with a really high offensive ceiling right there for them to take.
I love everything you just said. No, Chase and I have not exchanged notes. We both comped Trey Johnson and Devin Booker independently. That is, I mean, I'm sure that's other places too, but like
he studies Devin Booker. I asked him at the combine. He said Devin Booker, so we're all thinking the same thing.
I remember watching him and just being like, God, the Booker vibes are strong. You try to stay away from that, right? Because like Devin Booker 3 years ago was the best player on an NBA Finals team. Like Devin Booker, he was an Olympian. Like a starter on the Olympic team. Like this dude is such a good player, and I know Phoenix is a nightmare right now, but like Devin Booker is a freaking baller, and if they can get Devin Booker at 6, like that is a steal. So obviously that would be huge shoes to fill for Trey Johnson, but just the scoring, the shot making, the size, we'll see what he can be on defense. But I think the thing that's interesting for him versus say Ace Bailey, why I would put Johnson over Bailey personally, acknowledging that I haven't done having conversations with these guys and so many of the important pieces of just watching the tape, thinking about the player profile and how it fits. The shooting, like next levelness of Johnson, to me is a separator. I think Ace Bailey's obviously a tremendous shot creator. How that translates to the league, I think, is a question. I don't have that as much of a question about that with Johnson, and I think there's a shooting upside that might not be there with Bailey. Do you agree with that on the Bailey versus Johnson, like offensive wing player comparison?
Yeah, I think Ace Bailey in some respects is a little bit taller version of Trey Johnson, but Trey Johnson is just a better, more productive player, or at least he was in college, right? He shot a much higher percentage. He was really good off the catch. He was really good off the dribble. Both of them struggle at getting to the rim. Now, Ace Bailey offers a little more on the defensive end. He's also a better rebounder, so you could consider him a more versatile player. But Trey Johnson, it doesn't really match the eye test, but he's more athletic if you go off by combine numbers. Trey Johnson's not just a shooter. He's a 6'6" shooting guard who can also jump really high. He had like a 38-inch vertical leap at the combine. So I think he's plenty athletic, tremendous at moving without the ball. He's a really serious guy. Not that Ace Bailey isn't, but I interviewed both of these guys at the combine, and Trey Johnson said he is like 100% strictly basketball. Like, he does not even really watch TV. He listens to music a little bit. His only hobby is basketball. He said he just recently was given a book. I forget the book. It's some like self-help book. He's trying to sort of broaden his horizons, but that guy is an absolute gym rat, and I think it shows when you watch him on the court.
Bailey and Jeremiah Fears, the point guard from Oklahoma, to me are the two most intriguing prospects through a Wizards lens. Not necessarily best fits, like intriguing in the true sense of the word. I'm like, I wonder how a couple floors down from us these guys fit on their board, because I can make the argument for both. I can make the argument against both. Obviously, there's the reports that are out there that we assume are correct on Jordan Poole trade. So Fears having more minutes available at the point guard spot is a factor here. But let's say the choice is down to those two. Do you have a strong lean either direction between Fears? So that would mean like Johnson's off the board, Nipple's off the board. Let's see, we need one more. Edgecombe goes off the board. So now you're looking at Fears and Bailey as kind of that group of 6 next to the last 2 remaining. Do you have a strong lean either way in your own personal preference?
I'd probably lean Ace Bailey as more likely, because the Wizards, they covet positional size. It's been a through line for every draft pick they've made, right? And that's one thing that Jeremiah Fears does not have. He's 6'2.5" without shoes. He's about the same size as like a Darius Garland on the court. Ace Bailey, a lot was made about how he's not as tall as he was listed. He was listed 6'10" at Rutgers, kind of inexplicably. I saw it right away when I saw him play in person at Maryland. He's shorter than Juju Reese. He's not 6'10", but he's still 6'7.5" without shoes. And with that jumper, like, he's got the positional size. He also offers, I think, a little more on the defensive end than Jeremiah Fears. So he sort of fits the Wizards mold. Both of these guys, though, are really young. They both reclassified to go into school early. So they're the age of a high school senior. They should not be going through the draft process right
They should have just
right?
finished prom.
Yeah, exactly. NIL has changed everything because now they can make millions in college, so they're going in early. So they both have their strengths and weaknesses. For Jeremiah Fears, what does stand out and is really interesting is he is arguably the best player in this draft at getting to the rim and getting free throws. And not just getting to the line, but knocking down 85% of them. That's a really high number. So he could generate offense for himself by doing that. And Ace Bailey, on the other hand, is more of the outside shooter. Jeremiah Fears, less efficient, too many turnovers. So it's really splitting hairs, but I think what comes down to the common denominator for both of those guys is what I said. They're both high-end scoring talents.
Yeah, for sure. The character stuff is also what I not worry about, what I'm curious about, right? And the Bailey stuff is particularly interesting on that front because, and I'm curious, like, your impressions of talking to him, because there's just nothing like having a face-to-face conversation with a kid. Now, the conversations that you have as a media member are different than the ones he's having with teams, than the ones he'll have with teammates. Like, that's a given. But I haven't talked to Ace Bailey. Chase has. So we're going to use Chase's expertise being here. No one's like, he's a bad kid. People, the rap is more that he is immature, that there is growing to do in terms of like his professionalism, in terms of approach to the game, in a contrast to, say, Trey Johnson or Cooper Flagg or Dylan Harper. That there's immense talent there, but are we going to get it out of him? And, like, will he take it seriously enough? But also, you listen to Dylan Harper talk about him, he's like, that dude brings the best energy to the locker room. I loved being his teammate. So what do you make of kind of the kid, Ace Bailey? And then, I don't know if you talked to Fears as well. What can you tell us about him in that regard?
The word I would use for Ace Bailey is just unpolished, right? And as I was watching him and speaking with him, you know, it just kind of came off as a guy who hasn't really had the media coaching. But also, as I was hearing him talk, I was like, man, this guy should be a high school senior. Like, imagine being in that position. Like, you're about to be a high draft pick. You've got all the talent in the world. And, yes, it's a very different situation answering these questions with teams and the media. But they're getting asked the same questions, right? He's getting asked, why didn't Rutgers win? He's getting asked, why didn't you pass the ball? You know, he had 11 games without any assists last year.
Yeah.
You know, what type of player are you going to be at the next level? How can you help a team win? And so I think you're hearing some of the same responses they give those teams. And my read on him was he's a very confident guy, and it's just really hard to project what he's going to be at 25 years old, not only as a player, but you also got to do that as a person. And you just got to keep in mind these guys are so young. And Jeremiah Fears, I would say, is a little more polished, but same thing. He's just a kid, a confident kid who believes he could be the best player in this draft. But I think you're probably going to get a different impression from him 5 years from now when you speak to him.
For sure. And I think one thing that was a through line of the guys that they've taken so far is like competitiveness is just next level. For whatever it's worth, Anthony just texted and passed it along a report from Kirsten Peak of Yahoo, I believe is where she's at now.
She was at Yahoo. I think she's on her own.
Okay, so
Yeah.
she does a ton of draft stuff. Apparently,
Great job.
Reporting that Ace Bailey had a private workout at some point with the Wizards. So the secret team that may have had a private work, like Josh Robbins was sitting in that chair an hour and a half ago, and we were like, I was like, would it surprise you if the Wizards or someone pulled off a private workout? And he was like, no, not really.
All the Wizards' workouts are private nowadays, by the way.
Yeah.
Wasn't the deal in the past, but that's how the new front office operates. So they might have worked out any number of these guys.
Yeah, but with Bailey, the whole thing was like, oh, he didn't work out for anyone. And it's like, well, actually, he did, according to Kirsten Peak. So take that for what it's worth. And sometimes, we talked about this in the NFL draft process. Logan and I talked about this a lot, and everyone else. You can bring in a guy on a workout because you want to find out more, you want to confirm stuff. And then when he's there, you either confirm stuff or you don't. So just because he came in for a workout doesn't mean the workout went great. It could have been great, and there's a sign that Ace Bailey to 6. That's why everyone's connecting the dots. But they could have brought him in and been like, not what we want. So we'll find out when they get on the clock if Ace Bailey's still there tonight. What they thought of him. One more wild card name I want to run by you. Malyuk, the center from Duke. First of all,
Maluach. I believe it is Maluach.
Maluach.
Forgive yourself for that. Last night I found out it's not Igor Demin, it's Jaeger Demin.
Oh.
Yeah.
There's another.
So you just got to get used to this stuff.
This is why.
It's not Keyshawn George, it's Keyshawn George.
Yes.
I found that out on draft night last year, so it happens.
So, this is why Dane Brugler, when you get done with your NFL draft guide, The Beast, which has pronunciations for every player, I just need you to do a quick 100 on the pronunciations only of the NBA.
You said the NFL? I was going to say, come on, man. The NFL names are much easier to pronounce than NBA names. These guys are coming from all over the world.
But he literally has names for 700 guys.
Right. Oh, I know.
What
the memory
does
recall
is
is
ridiculous.
insane.
So Vicini over at the Athletic, if you want to do it in your draft guide, we need someone to do the name pronunciations. So say it one more time.
Jaeger Demin.
No, the Duke center.
Kaman Maluach is what I believe it is.
Kaman Maluach. The Duke center.
Yes,
the Duke center.
The big guy.
I can't say his name yet. I really like what I read about him. I really like what I see. What are the chances the Wizards go off the board at 6 and go, we're going to take the 7'2" athletic guy who showed us in FIBA. He's got a lot more to his offensive game than he showed at Duke.
It's so funny because when they got the 6th pick on lottery night, I thought there was no chance they would pick Kaman Maluach. He was the one guy who I immediately just ruled out because they picked Alex Sarr last year. But I like Maluach a lot. And the more I think about it, I think they could actually fit if they go down that route. If they project Alex Sarr as a 4, and if they think he can develop his outside shot, then it makes a lot of sense to have a guy like Kaman Maluach who can do the more traditional center things. Sets screens. He's got great hands around the rim. He can throw down lobs, things that Alex Sarr will have to develop, but he seems more comfortable playing on the perimeter. And then defensively, the combination that they could make as rim protectors, I think it could look like Jared Allen and Evan Mobley in Cleveland, where you have not just one, 2 guys you don't want to go into the paint and encounter. And when they're on the court at the same time, that's a big deal. Then you can stagger them. It really changes your defense for 48 minutes. So I think they could fit in that regard. The question would be shooting. Not only can Alex Sarr develop his outside shot, but Kaman Maluach has gotten a lot of praise for his shooting potential. And I was at the NBA Draft Combine. I asked Con Knippel and Tyrese Proctor about him, his teammates at Duke, 2 of the best shooters in the draft. Both of them, unprompted, said he could be a great shooter. They said he's got great shooting touch. It just wasn't his role at Duke last year.
Yeah, Kaman Maluach. I feel like you said his name 7 times in that answer just to be like, Craig, if I say it enough, you'll get it. So Chase Hughes, my buddy, my pal, my name savior here in draft night. Anybody else that is there a wild card name you're kind of watching, or is there anybody that particularly you love at 18 or you think they might trade up for? We'll end there.
A wild card, I'll throw out the name Jace Richardson, son of Jason Richardson.
Yes.
2-time NBA dunk contest champion.
Although apparently Jace not quite the athlete that his dad was.
He's
Not that many
He's
were.
not quite as big.
Yeah.
He's very athletic. And I just did a deep dive. You can find it on my Twitter page. I went through the analytics of all these guys, the college prospects, which, by the way, was easier to do this year because everyone's coming out of college. He is 6'1" without shoes, but he finishes at a higher percentage at the rim than both Derek Queen and Thomas Sorber, some of the big men in this draft. And then they also break down percentages of three-point shooting from NBA range. He shot about 39% from NBA range. He shot 55% on threes in transition. He was really good from the corners, too. So when you really break it down and try to project what type of shooter he's going to be at the next level, that guy is going to be a really good shooter because that's an adjustment for a lot of these young guys. And then we'll see about the size, and this is important for this, but he's also a really good defender.
Interesting. All right, Chase Hughes, what's your game plan for tonight? Where can people go to get stuff from you?
Yeah, so I'll be writing for MonumentalSportsNetwork.com, Monumental Plus app, and then Bijan Todd, my colleague, and I will also have a post-game, post-draft reaction on video that you can find on our YouTube page or our website.
There you go. And then follow, of course, on Twitter and everywhere else. Jason's on TikTok. He's everywhere, so make sure you follow him. I guess, yeah. I am on TikTok.
Doing a good
You're
job
right.
of trying to catch up to you.
You're right. I am on TikTok. Sometimes I forget because sometimes the comments I had one where the comments got out of control last week on something. I was like, I'm going to not check this for a hot second. So I should probably get back on there and make sure nothing's on fire. Anyway, that's Chase Hughes. When we get back, 301-230-0980. Who do you want to see the Wizards take tonight at 6? 301-230-0980. But first, the latest from the world of women's sports presented to you by Wawa. Hey, everybody, look, it's Josh Robbins. What was I saying? Oh, right, the latest in the world of women's sports presented to you by Wawa Chicken. How you want it? Wawa with customizable roasted and crispy chicken sandwiches. the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Streaming live on YouTube, too, at the Team 980, where you see I am very clearly not. It would be sick if this was our studio, to be honest, like considering this backdrop. It looks like, Anthony, when I'm in my one shot and I have the Washington Monument there and the Jefferson Memorial there, it looks like I'm on like some cable news show. We go to Craig Hoffman now in D.C. for more on his perspective of this breaking news story. That's what I feel like. But that's like, this is not a fake backdrop. This is a window that's looking out over the actual, like over the National Mall as we're here at the wharf at Wizards Draft HQ.
Nah, it does look really nice. I wish I was down there.
You're not far.
For some reason, though, outside of my window, it looks like it's about to rain, and I think I see the sun sort of kind of setting behind you.
It definitely rained a little bit earlier. It started to spit a little bit.
Okay, so I wasn't tripping. Okay.
Yeah, no, you were not. In this particular case, you were not tripping. 301-230-0980 is the phone number. Coming up next, we will take your calls on who you want to see the Wizards draft. I made some comparisons earlier on Derek Queen. I was talking to Chase in the break after he was hanging with us, and I was like, "Who's the upside version of this of like the Derek Queen archetype?" And I don't think he'll mind me saying this. I'm sure he said it other places, but like an Alperen Şengün, like, oh, that's the slow-footed guy who only does so much, but is an awesome rebounder and scorer, and it works at a really, really, really high level. So if that's the case. Like, hell yeah, I want Derek Queen at 6. The question is, are you Alperen Şengün? Are you Thomas Bryant? Or are you Jahlil Okafor? That's like the vertical of player that Derek Queen is in. And it can obviously work really well, or it could go to absolute bupkis.
One of the callers DM'd me and said Derek Queen reminds him of Al Jefferson.
That's another great one. Al Jefferson was an awesome player, borderline all-star for like 12 years. He was
a problem on the block.
Really good. He was really good. I just wonder the value of that kind of player in the modern NBA, and that is something that I think is like the curious part of all of this is like the skill sets change, the variance. And I was listening to, oh God, who was it? This is going to kill me. But no, it's not. I'm just not going to worry about it. I was listening to some smart NBA draft person recently. I think it was one of the Ringers guys on with the low. And he was like, for Washington, I like the Queen fit specifically because of something that I said earlier. Obviously, he didn't know that I said it earlier, but now putting the pieces together of this tidbit that is somewhere in the back of my brain of like the Wizards could use a central hub for all of these really good complementary pieces to rotate around. And whether it's the guys like Kispert that have been there, or Bub, or Alex, or Keyshawn, or Bilal, like none of them are prime offensive guys. And so can you get a prime offensive guys that becomes your center hub offensively, and then those guys are able to do a ton of good work defensively to cover for whatever. And, like, to an extent this year, will that be C.J. McCollum, assuming that he sticks around? Yeah, like, to an extent. But obviously, we're not talking about what this central hub is for 2025. We're talking about what it is in 2027, 2028. And if they win the draft lottery next year, then it's A.J. DeBonsa, and it's fine. But if you are looking for more immediate solutions and a potential huge upside swing on that central offensive hub-type player, Derek Queen is a guy that you're looking at in this draft. Trey Johnson's a guy you're looking at in this draft. Ace Bailey's a guy you're looking at in this draft. And those to me are like probably the 3 best guys on that. Because even like, Con Knipple, I think is going to wind up being a better, there's a really good chance that Con Knipple's a better player than all those guys. But Con's like another complementary piece, a more offensive complementary piece than what they have, but an offensive piece versus like a guy who, the reason he's a lower-rated player relative to, say, Con Knipple at this point is because he doesn't have the versatility, but he does have the higher upside to be a number 1 option offensively. So the Queen discussion is an interesting one. All right, who do you want the Wizards to take? Our draft show with Linnell starts in an hour, in a half hour. 301-230-0980, 301-230-0980. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980 and always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Streaming live on YouTube too at the Team 980. 301-230-0980 is our phone number. 301-230-0980. That is where you call us and tell us who you want to see the Wizards take tonight in the NBA draft. The decision makers just a couple floors down from us at the media center here at Wizards Draft HQ. We are here at the Wharf where the Wizards have set up shop for this year. So we are thrilled that they had us out to do the show. It's been great to have a couple of our media colleagues on. Josh Robbins at 4:30. Chase Hughes was just on from Monumental Sports Network. And we're taking your calls now. Starting off with Ray in Clinton. Ray, who do you want to see the Wizards take here in the 2025 NBA draft 90 minutes from now?
Hey, what's up, man? Hey, if Ace Bailey there, they don't have a choice but to take him because of the upside. But if he gone, it's either gonna be Malloway, man, or Derek Queen, man. Derek Queen got better offense than Malloway, but Malloway got the defense that they need. They got the height that they need. And then with the 18th pick, man, I go ahead and get Clayton, man. That boy can play, man. And he got a good upside. He's small, but he got a good upside. The small guards, man. They're little terrorists, but they can get taken advantage of. But that'll be my pick, man. Because the thing with Derek Queen, this is with the knock on him. The Wizards, the Commanders had a player just like Derek Queen. Okay. He could be a menace in college, but when you get to the pros, man, you can't take no time off, man. That's why Chase Young worked his way out of Washington, man. Because when you take plays off, man, coaches notice that, in the front office notice that, man. They're going to strip you out of here. So if Derek Queen can learn how to just play, give his all, hone his craft, and do what he's supposed to do as a basketball player, man, I really do think, man, that he'll be a all-star for real because he got it. He can post you. He can shoot, he can rebound, he can block shot, he do it all. But, you can't take no time off, man. That's just my take, man. But Walter Clayton at 18, I'm telling you, they need to get him. I'm telling you what I know. All right, I'm out.
All right, Ray. Ray and Clinton is out. Man, the little terrorist line, that's hilarious. And it's so true in the way that a lot of these big guards or a lot of these little guards play. They're just annoying. They just have a way of being, little terrorists and little terrorist positive. Good thing. The thing with Clayton that's like kind of silly that this is where I land because I think he's going to be good. He's definitely undersized, but he's an older player, and I genuinely wonder at age 23 if that's a player that the Wizards want. They have traditionally gone younger. And so I feel like the upside swings is kind of where they've gone. But, are they at a point now a couple years into this in their third draft where they want some more maturity around and a guy like Walter Clayton who you can plug and play and, can help help these guys, but contractually he's going to be cheap for a couple of years. Like, is that a guy that could be really helpful? Yeah, definitely. I don't hate the idea, and he's not off my board because he's an older player for the Wizards, that's for sure. 301-230-0980 is the phone number, 301-230-0980. Let's go to Bob. Bob, thanks for calling. You're on the Hoffman Show.
Yes, good afternoon, Craig. I think at number 6, if Trey Johnson is there, they should be able to take him. But if he's not there and he goes to Utah, I have a trade possibility for you.
Okay.
The Brooklyn Nets have 5 first-round picks. Mm-hmm. Why not do a 2-for-1 and get like 8 and 27 for number 6? That way they'll have 3 first-round picks just like they did last year. That gives them 7 first-round picks in the last 2.5 years if you include A.J. Johnson's trade with Milwaukee. And what they always say, more bites of the apple, you have a better chance on hitting on 3 or 4 of them with those 7 than you would with less first-round picks. What do you think about that, sir? Thank you for your time.
Bob, I love that idea.
Yes?
I really think, actually, Chase and I, Chase Hughes, who was just on, for those that weren't listening, and I were talking in the break after he got done on the radio with us, and he's like, by the way, Brooklyn's up to something, right? They've got 5 first-round picks. And I was like, yeah, you don't take 5 guys. So, Bob, I appreciate the call a lot, and I appreciate that idea, and I like that idea specifically. I mean, obviously, if you can get one of the higher picks, if you can get maybe that 22nd pick they just acquired in the trade for Terrence Mann, as well as pick number 6 or pick number 8 for 6, you should get more. But if it's 27, it's 27 or 25, I think they have as well, whatever the numbers are. I think that idea is great. It just comes down to like what kind of player or what are the tiers. And we talked about this a ton in the lead up to the NFL draft. Logan and I have talked about it for a couple of years in a row here with the Commanders and how we build that board. on Take Command and how NFL teams build their boards, but the same is true for NBA players or NBA teams. Like, ultimately, you've got tiers. And if you can drop from 6 to 8 and not drop a tier, so let's say for whatever reason, like let's say they didn't have, and I have no idea if this is true. This is me completely talking out of my behind. Let's say they have Knipple and Fears lower, right, than everybody else. And those two guys go 3 and 5. And it's like, oh, okay, well, we've got Malawach, we've got Bailey, we've got Trey Johnson, and we have all those guys in the same tier. And because someone that we didn't have in that tier got taken higher, we know if we drop from 6 to 8, we might not have the guy who was the highest in that tier for us. Let's say it was Bailey, but Malawach. I'm going to get it right eventually. Watch, he's going to be the pick. That way I have to get it right. And by the way, the more I read and the more I watch, the more I'm fine with that. But let's say Malawach is definitely going to be available at 8, or Bailey or Johnson, and you drop down 100%. Because Brooklyn, what you're hoping is Brooklyn doesn't have it that way. That, let's say Bailey is the guy for them, and they're like, let's take the swing on Ace Bailey. We have so many draft picks, and we know that he's a guy that wants to be here. We think that we can be the team that develops him. We think Jordy Fernandez is the right coach for him. Let's go get Ace Bailey. Sick. We'll take whichever guy doesn't go at 7, at 8, and we now have an extra pick. Or what you might have is the ability to package 18 and the other pick, 27, let's say, to move up to 12. And now, let's say Noah Sange, the French kid, who's 18 years old and like a legit 6'10", and is playing his face off the last 2 months for his German team. Let's say you can go get him at 12. Let's party. Let's move up. And I don't even know who's at 12, so that might be the wrong team. That team might definitely be staying. But that's kind of where I'm at. Is, would the Wizards love to move up from 18? Yes, probably. Is there going to be a guy that falls that they want to? But then what do you have to give up to move? And right now, in terms of tradable assets, you don't want to give up future firsts. You've already traded the 40th pick. And contractually, Corey Kispert's kind of the last guy left, and I don't think they're in a rush to get rid of Corey by any stretch of the imagination. For the right deal, they're going to have to make moves, but Corey is a great piece for them to have. And so if you can acquire an extra late first rounder to tack on to 18, that gives you mobility. And what you might want starting a night with, let's say it's 6 and 18, could you end with 8 and 12? And is that better? I think you can make a serious argument that for bites at the apple and the quality that you'll get at 12 versus 18 and the lack of quality that you'll lose between 6 and 8, that you could definitely make that argument. All right. Last but not least, never least, let's go to the JYD. Junkyard Dog with us here on the Hoffman Show. JYD, who do you want the Wizards to take tonight at 6, presuming that they stay at 6?
They should go ahead, if they can, they take Ace Bailey, and then at the 14th pick, I think it's the 14th
18.
pick, they should take the kid for, I think he plays for Indiana, I think he does. I think his name is Will Riley. He's a 6'9" guard.
Yeah, Riley's an interesting.
He needs to put on a little weight or whatever, but I think that's the way they should go. Get some length out there. Get length.
Yeah, the length and positional size has always been a big thing for them, so we'll see if they continue to roll with that tonight. JYD, appreciate the call. I think it's interesting that a lot of people are in on Bailey. There's a lot of questions about that dude, but if you get it right with him, the upside's as high as basically anybody in this draft, and that is hard to pass on, especially if you're in the Wizards' position. But I also know that this is a very patient group, very patient ownership group right now, very patient front office group. And if they don't think that the upside is actually there with Bailey or that they can reach it, they're not going to just take the swing for the sake of saying, we took a swing. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. We get back. We will wrap up the show. I will throw a couple names out there, the order of which I would like to see them. go off the board tonight for the Wizards. So I'll give you my predictions. Anthony will chime in with his as well. And then we will pass things off to Linnell for the draft show starting officially at 7 o'clock here on the Team 980. Wrapping up here from Wizards Draft HQ. Linnell is here. We're gonna, he's only got a limited amount of voice, so we're gonna just let him wait till 7 o'clock to put a headset on. But I'm gonna stick around for a little bit, I think. Pop around, pop back in before I head out of here. But we are live at Wizards Draft HQ here on the Team 980. Linnell leads our coverage starting at 7 o'clock, which means that we are almost done, Anthony Haney. I think that when I think of who I want on the board for Washington at 6, from what I know, which I admit is a limited amount compared to what the folks downstairs know, I still kind of sit at Trey Johnson as my favorite prospect in that range. I would love if Knipple was available. I don't think he's going to be. I really like Edgecombe a lot as well. I think he's their kind of guy. The athleticism is crazy. You don't get balls of clay like that. So when you get one, you take it and you mold it how you can. But the offensive shot making and the shooting of Trey Johnson, the athleticism, which leads to some potential on the defensive end in theory, I think Trey Johnson's like my guy, if you will. I like Jeremiah Fears quite a bit too. Ace Bailey, I like, and I would trust if they think they can get him. Like if they like what they saw in that. Apparently, again, Kirsten Peak reporting that Bailey did have a private workout with the Wizards, or Maluach, Maluach. Good gracious, the big guy from Duke. If they I'm good with all of those dudes. I really, really like the idea of trading down and acquiring extra capital and then hopefully trading back up from 18. But those, I think that's kind of my order. Although, Kama Maluach, the more I think about it, the more I want to put him up, like basically right behind Trey Johnson.
Well, I told Will Dawkins about 2 weeks ago who I thought, the Wizards should draft. Mm-hmm. And here it is 2 weeks later. Craig Hoffman is agreeing with me.
Oh, God. That means we're all going to get fired.
Look, I'm not going to lie. That's a lot of pressure.
It is. Well, as long as, in Will's opinion, you're better at basketball scouting than you are at football scouting based off our conversations
maybe that's what it
in
is.
The past. Just because you're good at one doesn't mean you're good at the other. They're different
right.
sports. So maybe you're good at basketball scouting, Anthony. Maybe Trey Johnson is the right guy.
Hey, look, it's all about perspective.
It's all about perspective. So that you're with me. Trey Johnson's the guy of that kind of group, the non-flag Harper group that you hope falls to 6.
I think he could be the guy that we could potentially build around. I think Maluach will be a great, piece to add here. But I don't know if you're building, your franchise around this play. Like, would you say Trey Johnson and maybe even Ace Bailey are the two players outside of those Dylan Harper and Cooper Flag range where you can, see the franchise, them being like a franchise cornerstone?
Yeah.
Maybe Khan. I don't know about Khan.
I don't think
Maybe
Khan is. I like Khan is like
Great
you're
piece.
hoping he's like Klay Thompson. Like that's the best version of Khan Knipple. But I mean Klay was an everything defender, and I don't think Khan might not be a liability, but I think if you're looking at Flag, yes. Harper, yes. Bailey, like what we're talking about, potential, yes.
Yeah.
Johnson, like if he turns into Devin Booker, yeah. Maluach, no. Fears is like the intriguing one. Like when I watched him, I was watching some more of his stuff earlier today. Like, is he De'Aaron Fox? And like, if he is, then what? Like that borderline all-star, sometimes all-star tier player is like a really interesting guy, especially if he's a smaller score-first point guard who has limited shooting range. Now, De'Aaron a couple years ago turned into a sniper from 3, and that's the year that the Kings got the 3 seed and were awesome.
Yeah.
But then now he's been traded, and, it is what it is.
It also just took him so long, though, also to
right, which the Wizards have the
player.
patience for that.
Yeah.
So, like, is Fears De'Aaron Fox? And if so, like, you should probably take him because I don't know how many of these dudes are going to be better than De'Aaron Fox is. Like, De'Aaron Fox is a multi-time All-Star.
Yeah.
So, it's tough. Song, the French kid, is the other one that I think is really, really, really interesting. He's got a ton of potential. So 7 o'clock tonight, which is 5 minutes from now. I'm taking this headset off. Linnell's going to put it or a different one on. If you want to wipe this one down and disinfect it, he can use a different headset. That's his call. But you can listen to our draft coverage all night here on the Team 980. Again, draft starts at 8. Picks are theoretically 5 minutes long, so sometime around 8:30, we should be seeing the Wizards on the clock. Tomorrow we'll have full reaction to this. We will try to have some guests on. We'll have all the things, and excited to talk about it tomorrow. As the Wizards continue their rebuild, they continue putting the pieces together. The next piece gets added just over 90 minutes from now. Appreciate everyone for the Wizards for having us out here at Draft HQ. Stay tuned because we're picking up there with Linnell next here on the Team 980.